Welcome back, everyone, to the Abundance Formula podcast. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. I'm a little hoarse from the wedding we went to last weekend, so hopefully I don't cough too much during this episode or have to clear my throat too much, but it's a very high possibility that that will happen. So just FYI, it's because we got hoarse dancing and having a great time and chasing the kids and keeping track of the kids at the wedding we went to last weekend in Pittsburgh. So anyways, let's dive right into today's solo episode. I'm excited about this one because I think a lot of us deal with fear, especially when we're moving into new things or we're attempting to grow, or especially if you're here listening on this podcast, the Abundance Formula, you're high performers, you're go-getters, you're people that want to make a big impact in the world. And so as you start to try to grow and make more impact, we're going to have to do and tap into different parts of ourselves than we're used to or we never knew were there and really stretch ourselves. And that can be scary. We're going to have to do things we've never done, try things we've never tried, take some risk, try to be smart. It's especially as an entrepreneur, it's this balance of like, you can't reach a next level of success without risk, but then you're trying to be responsible and take calculated risk. And what does that look like? And you're trying, like for me, building this new version of our business in life coaching, how do we want it to look? How much can you really plan ahead? Or, especially for me, trying to follow where God's leading. And specifically, as we've talked about on past episodes, like this season I'm in, he doesn't want me to have this solid blueprint. He wants me to leave him white space to develop things that are above and beyond what I could imagine for myself. And that is scary, especially being a type A personality. I would like to have more details planned out, but the reality is when we do that, we're limiting what he could have for us actually planned. And then also it makes our vision more narrow to see opportunities he might have to open up new doors we never would have dreamed of because our vision is narrowed where we decided it should be. So I'm in this space of releasing a lot more of the planning process to a step by step each day, asking God basically what's next. So this is a struggle, and it's hard to have this to do this dance between not having doubt and just processing through my fears with God and letting him tell me what he wants me to know about that. And so the other day I was on this morning walk that I was taking and was just kind of chatting with God about, again, okay, just here are the things I'm afraid of. Here's the things that I'm second guessing myself or doubting about or worried about. I'm giving those to you. And what do you want me to know about it? And when I asked, what do you want me to know about these fears of just, again, stepping into the unknown, trying to figure things out, trying to be smart, trying to be responsible. Some of the things I'll be doing are taking risk, and I don't fully know where it's supposed to go. So here's the things, just expressed. Here's the things I'm afraid about, or the things I'm wanting to doubt. And what came to me was this image of a roller coaster, and that you could have the same experience on the ride. You can ride the ride with two different mindsets. You can experience the same ride in two different ways. And you really have three choices. So we'll get into those. So you can ride the ride and feel absolutely terrified the whole time. Like you're safe, you're in the harness, you're not going to fly out of the ride. It doesn't mean the ride might have unexpected outcomes, like stopping on the way up to the peak climb, as many of you probably saw in the news recently, like the roller coaster that stopped literally vertical as they're going up to one of the peak drops. But so it's not that there won't be unknowns on the ride, but most likely, like you're not going to fly out of the harness. The harness has got you, right? So you're going to make it through the ride, okay? But you can ride it and be absolutely terrified and overwhelmed with fear, or you can ride the ride and be exhilarated. And it's actually interesting as far as like wavelengths go and like on a cellular level in the brain and in the body. Fear is a feeling, and it's the same neurological process, but you can translate it two different ways. Fear, like the feelings of fear can be making you feel shaky, scared, like anxiety kind of fear, or it can shift into exhilaration. Exhilaration is fear that you've processed properly. You've felt it long enough to process that you're going to be okay, and then you can make it out on the other side better. And so you can choose to ride this ride and be terrified, or you can ride the ride and be exhilarated by the emotions and the ups and the downs. Or you can just decide to not get on the ride at all. Okay, God's going to give us so many opportunities. He's inviting us into so many opportunities to grow, to be courageous, to be trailblazers, to to push through the fear with him and trust him so that when we come out on that other side after the ride, we can tell other people, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing. It was scary in ways. Like your heart may end up in your throat. You may be just dying on the slow burn to the tippy top going vertical until you reach, the precipice of that that leap of faith off the next precipice. But like I made it and that was so worth it. And it was so fun on the back end and I learned so much. It was so great. I bonded with the people next to me, right? That's life. It is a roller coaster and you will have the crazy feelings of your heart being in your throat or on the drop down, maybe everything goes to your stomach or again, just that slow burn of like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to the tippy top and there's going to be a jump required or a drop required on the other side, but you will make it. And you'll be better for it and your life is so much richer for it and the lives of other people can be richer for it. So it kind of just hit me that like fear doesn't always mean stop. It doesn't mean something bad, but fear can be really approached in a few different ways. Fear can be a sign of inviting you to dig deeper and maybe you have a limiting belief about your capacity or what therefore you think God is capable of, that you fear if he'll come through for you or that you can step up into what he's asked you to do, which again, that's where I think we've walked through this on past episodes. When we hit these different limiting beliefs where we're afraid that we're not good enough, long story short, what that means is we believe that God doesn't either believe in us or that he's not going to come through for us. And being honest about that with him is huge and opens the gateway of communication to say like, I'm afraid you're not going to come through for me. And then see what he says. Ask him what he thinks about that. And then see what he says to you because he'll tell you. And it's incredible and he will come through for you. So that's a trust built, a trust step that you can bridge together. So it could reveal that you have a limiting belief about yourself and address where did you learn that? Where did that come from? And reestablish that falsity, that lie with truth. And then step forward into the greater things God has for you. Or fear could be a warning sign that something is off. And usually when we have that kind of fear, a fear that truly is for protection mode, for survival, you do know, like you have that internal dissonance in your soul when like, like this is the wrong way to go. Like this is actually a hurtful direction. And then there's just the fear that you have that more feels like, and this was me, a weight of, what you're supposed to do. It's just that you don't feel ready for it yet. Or that, or, it's just it's the fear of knowing you're not confused. You're just terrified of the fact that you don't feel ready for what you're supposed to do. But you're not confused about that. You know what you're supposed to do. You know you're in the right place. You know things are aligned. You're just afraid because you don't know that future version of you fully yet. But not all fear is created equal. The goal isn't to eliminate the fear. The goal is to understand what it's trying to tell you. So back to the kind of the roller coaster situation for a second. So faith doesn't remove the fact that there's going to be literal ups, downs, twists, and turns. It doesn't remove those things, but it changes how you experience them. Like God is like the harness in this example. Like he's got you. Okay. So even though he's got you, you can choose to truly embrace that and ride the ride and be exhilarated by like, oh my gosh, Lord, what are we going to do about this next turn? Oh my gosh, Lord, we just did a full like twist circle fully upside down. Or you can know the harness has you and then just choose to accept being terrified and staying in that state. It's a choice. And it ultimately resides in the trust you decide to place in the harness, right? So that's point number one I wanted to make. Next, I heard this really cool thing on a podcast called The Niche Is You. I forget the name of the guy who hosts this podcast, but this was a cool quote that he mentioned. He said, your future self has already resolved what your current self is still debating. And I thought that was really cool and actually gave me a comfort. Like that's right. We know like the future self, like if we really feel called, like I feel called to be in this next area of my profession that I'm in. Doesn't mean I know how it's going to go. I know it's going to work out. I don't know all the steps of how it will. And I know in general types of decisions like the future me would make to get there. But the reality is it's cool to trust, like if I actually start thinking like that person and doing the things she would do, that not only will I get there because I'm going to start thinking like my future self that already has the things that I want and the impact that I want to create and the outcomes that I would like to have. So if I'm thinking like her and making decisions like her, I will get to where she is, however that path leads. So I can take comfort now in thinking around that thought that like my future self has already has already sorted this out. She's already gone on the same morning walk that I'm going on right now, asking God what he wants me to know about this fear I'm having about just knowing where I'm supposed to go, but that I don't feel ready for it yet, or I don't know if I'm ready for it, or just asking God, am I ready for it? And then he gives me this kind of metaphor or this analogy in my head of this roller coaster. Like, I've got you. You can ride that. I have already chosen to get on the ride. Again, that decision for me has already been done. I'm on the ride. So if you're on the ride and you've already made the decision to take God up on the opportunity he's putting in front of you to go to the next level with him and make greater impact and fulfillment of your life, um, then you can choose to ride the ride with him in two ways, in fear and terror or exhilaration. So it was cool to me to think my future self's already done this morning walk and I've chosen and I get to choose. And what she would choose of these two options is to be exhilarated, to choose that like the harness has me. I've already chosen to get on here. So now I'm going to do the thing with exhilaration. I'm going to do the thing embracing the mystery. I'm going to do the thing embracing all the different crazy feelings that are going to come up on this ride. But I know I'm going to make it through this particular ride that he's put me on. And I'll be ready for the next one. And I'll have even more confidence going into the next one because I'll know I made it through this ride. And it was an incredible experience, both with all the highs and the lows. And I can't wait to tell everybody else about it so that they can be empowered to get on the next ride and to live a more exciting life, a more purpose-driven life, and to make it around. So I thought that was just kind of a cool way of phrasing that I hadn't heard before, was that your future self has already resolved what your current self is debating and struggling with. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So what would change for you if you started making decisions from the person you're becoming instead of the person that you were or that you currently are today? So you can ride the ride terrified, you can ride it exhilarated, or you can choose to not get on at all. But either way, the opportunity in front of you remains the same. The question is, how do you want to experience it? So if fear shows up for you guys this week, don't immediately ask, like, how do I get rid of this? It's not something to get rid of. It's always the signal. It's a valuable emotion. It's a valuable feeling. It's chemical. So again, it doesn't mean that what it initially tells you is true. You need to pause for a moment and really let it process and think about it and walk through it. So don't just believe the first chemical reaction the fear gives you. Question it and say, what is it trying to tell me? What is it actually trying to tell me? And better yet, ask God what it's trying to tell you. Don't just ask yourself. Ask the God of the universe what it's trying to tell you. And if you discover it's not a warning sign truly for your safety, but it's rather an invitation, then lean into it and see, again, is it something I need to rework in my past that is holding me back? It's a past memory I misinterpreted and then took on a false identity about myself, and now I don't believe that I can do this? Or is it some place that I felt like God let me down and I never talked to him about that? We didn't process what that actually was. Or is it just that, it's this natural process of becoming, stepping into the person that you are in the future, and that will feel weird. It'll feel uncomfortable. It'll feel scary, but it's not the kind of fear where this is survival mode. We need to fight or flight it or freeze. Okay. So if you discover it's not a warning, but an invitation, lean in, because some of the greatest adventures that God has for you sit on the other side of a fear that was never meant to stop you, but to grow you. So hopefully this could, hit some heartstrings for you guys this week. Maybe you relate. Let me know if you relate to this. If you've been through this, let me know how your journey is going with this. I will definitely, I'm excited for this next season with you guys to be sharing all the entrepreneurial ups, downs, questions, concerns, doubts, victories, everything that I experience here with you guys that have already been following this podcast, so you guys can experience this, because I'm excited to also for audience in the future to go back to these past episodes when this new thing is fully developed and it's thriving and it's going and it's like old hat to me. For you to be able to look back at past episodes and be like, okay, this is where it started and here's where it is now. I think that's really cool. And it's hard to find on podcasts where people share the whole journey of the process. And it's neat to be able to reference it and go back when they're doing really well. And you're like, oh, wow, man, this must have come easier. They just must have had full confidence the entire time or had every step planned out, all those things, I want you to be able to reference past episodes like this and be like, no, she went on her morning walk too. She had these same kind of thoughts and conversations, and she made it through the ride and she loved it. So hope y'all have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one.